Okay, she is a freshman.
I know what I was thinking now.
Waiting for rain.
Busy with Naiser. She's the other day busy with Naiser in the bedroom. We call her from the collection.
You guys can make that a lot.
If it has all that, you can adjust it either for short term. They are good though, yeah.
Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you weren't scared off by the fact that the president is coming and thought you would be tied up in traffic forever. Now, I don't know how it'll be when you go ready to go home, but anyway, we're pleased that you are here. I'm Rosalie Russell. I'm a volunteer with the Travis County Master Gardeners, and we are part of Texas A&M. And our purpose is, we're a service organization, and our purpose is to provide sound educational information to the public, which Jerry Naiser is going to be our speaker today. He's been a master gardener for some time. He's also in a business and has a passion for trees, grass, bugs, irrigation, and I don't know what else. Probably a few more things.
Not many, but
that pretty well covers it.
Yeah.
On your way out, if you'd like to pick up this little handout, it tells you some of the things that are available to you as free services here at the Extension Service. Also, if you are interested in knowing about our upcoming programs, pick up the blue card. It has the address that you can go to for the blog site where things are posted. And if you have problems, we have a help desk to answer questions for you, horticultural questions. And you can also, that phone number is on here in bold. Also, there's an email address, so that if you have a plant that's diseased or something, you know, that stuff is really hard to describe. If you can take photos, you can send your photos and your information in to us, and that's very helpful to us. So I'll turn it over to Jerry. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming since y'all are here, you guys are kind of hands-on kind of people. Gardeners in general don't mind getting things done themselves, and so we're going to get off into some various things. We're going to start off with a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to get hands-on. We're actually going to do some of it. And is there anybody here that hadn't worked with PVC before? Okay. There's not much to it. I'll show you the basics when we do it. It's really, really easy to work with. It's really cheap to work with, and it lasts forever. So it's a good thing. So what is drip irrigation? Drip irrigation is simply a means to apply a small amount of water to a targeted location. Okay. There's a lot of different things that people call drip irrigation, but I don't really consider them to be drip irrigation because they're not very targeted. And an example of that would be a soaker hose, for instance. You're watering more dirt than you really are plants unless the soaker hose happens to be running through ground cover or something like that. Or even this, you can buy this laser drilled emitter pipe like this. And you'll see it in 1/2 inch diameter, 3/4 inch, and 1/4 inch like this is. And again, because you can't really change the location of the emitter holes, okay, and you can't really stop the flow of water out of the emitter holes, again, you're going to tend to water a lot of dirt. And to me, not so much. That's not to me what drip irrigation is, although it is a low flow water delivery device. So the benefit of drip is that primarily, the biggest reason I like is it minimizes disease. It avoids putting moisture on the foliage of a plant. Most disease problems, regardless of what they are, powdery mildew, black spot, whatever they are, they start with moisture on the foliage. Okay? Drip irrigation is a good way to keep the moisture off the foliage and directly at the root zone where it needs to be. It allows the rows between plants to stay dry, so you have fewer weeds, fewer maintenance. Okay, again, because you're targeting generally the base of the plant. It decreases labor. It makes irrigation more efficient on uneven ground, which we have a lot of here. Again, you're putting it directly to the base of the plant, and hopefully you're not putting more than the plant can soak in at one period of time, and it's not going to run off. So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons to use drip irrigation. It's really a smarter way to do it. There's a big variety of methods to do it with, and we're going to try and cover a few of them here. These are the components of a basic drip irrigation system. All drip irrigation systems will have a valve of some type, okay? Then it'll go to a backflow preventer, a pressure regulator, a filter, a tubing adapter, drip tubing, emitters, and then an end cap of some kind. The valve can be a lot of different things. It can be just a water faucet valve. It can be a butterfly valve. It could be irrigation valve. There's just a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of electromechanical devices now that are sold like that are really easy to start with. It's really a good way to get going in drip irrigation is with a simple device like this. One thing that you do need to know is if you tap into the city's water supply and you attach it to a sprinkler system or anything like that, law says you have to have a backflow device on it, okay? If it's a temporary connection, you can use a little cheesy backflow device like this. Okay? If it's a permanent connection, it takes a whole lot more to it than that.
Is the backflow device in that product already?
Yeah, it sure is. Most of these type devices that you buy as an all-in-one package, they will have everything in there, and which makes it really handy One of the things I found the other day, which I'd not seen before, was a whole irrigation package that Rainbird makes. It has a very, very large on and off manual valve on it. It has a filter already in it. It has a screen, a pressure regulator. This one's regulated to 30 psi, so it's really a great setup. You can tell, I prefer this. I mean, it just makes it so much simpler, but you know, you got to start somewhere. Another place to.
Where would you find something like that kit?
I got this at Horizon Irrigation Supply.
Horizon?
Horizon. They have about 3 locations around Austin, and they will sell to the public. And holy cow, are they cheaper than Home Depot. To give you an idea of how cheap.
Is that Horizon with an H or
With an H. This is a package of 10 of these emitters from Rainbird. At Horizon, this is $3. 3 of these, and a package of 3 at Home Depot is 6. So, you know, if you ask me, Rainbird's a little better quality than what they're selling over there. So, anyway, most everything I buy comes from Horizon. Sometimes I'll make a trip over to Lowe's or Home Depot, but you know, whatever on that. The water source is something else you've got to think about. The main line off your sprinkler system is the preferred water source, but it's not really where you want to start. If you're a novice and you're just getting started with drip, find a closed faucet, start there. Rain barrels are really great for drip. Who has a rain barrel? Okay. Rain barrels don't go very far, do they? Okay. They do with drip irrigation. An example would be, at my own home, you can compute how much water flow, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, that your drip irrigation system is going to use. But most of them most emitters are about a half a gallon per hour. It's not much. And again, because you're targeting just the plant, not the dirt, you use a whole lot less water. Okay, and so if you take a rain barrel, your existing rain barrel, the gravity, unless you've got some height on it, isn't enough pressure. It's not going to drive a drip irrigation system. I found this little pump, this low-tech pump at Home Depot, which is perfect for drip. They're $60, $70, dollars, and they can probably be found cheaper. And the neat thing about that is if you start with a pump like that, you don't need backflow. I mean, you could do backflow, it certainly wouldn't hurt, it'd keep it from siphoning. You would need a screen because that's probably a pretty dirty water supply. You would need a pressure control device, but as far as a timer, it could be just like a simple Christmas tree timer to turn that thing on and off. It'd be really easy to do. So all of a sudden, it makes a rain barrel really effective. You'll find your water, I mean, it'll last forever with drip. And that brings us to the controlling devices. We touched on those a lot. There's a lot of different controlling devices on the market now. This is one that I just found, and we're going to give this away today at the end of the program. It is one that I've never seen before. It'll actually control 4 hoses. It comes with 2, but you can buy 2 more. It's a kit, and they just simply plug into the back of the controller, and it's battery operated. It looked like a pretty slick deal. So anyway, controlling device of some type. At my own home, I started off with something like this, and ended up putting it onto irrigation controllers. And at the end of the day, if you know that you're going to have a lot of zones, irrigation controller is really the way to go. It's a whole lot cheaper. It's easier to do. It's a neater installation. To change times, it's just no batteries. There's just so many reasons to do it like that. So backflow preventers, we touched on that a little bit in the screens and the regulators. Backflow preventers, backflow and pressure regulators are oftentimes not installed. Pressure regulators can be the difference between your system actually working and failing, and there's 2 reasons for that. Without it, oftentimes hoses will blow off and you'll never know it. The other reason is it keeps your pressure constant. Okay, you've got really 2 different types of heads. One it depends on pressure, like this type, okay? And then the little button types, which I had, like these, like this one right here, These are pressure independent. Each one has its own regulator built into it. And the same with this hose. It's pressure independent as well. Okay, so there's two. It's important to know there's pressure dependent, pressure independent. Pressure dependent means the more pressure you give it, the more water that's going to come out. Okay, so as your pressure changes, somebody turns on the shower, your results aren't going to be as consistent. That is what the city's pressure, that's what you'll end up having to do if you don't have an irrigation system in your house, okay, and you tap into your line and make a permanent connection. The city will want a device like this. If you've got an irrigation system, chances are you already have it. It's at the street and in the ground. Okay, these things are supposed to be inspected every year, but they never, just doesn't really happen. And the difference between a permanent installation and what the city would call a temporary installation is the point of attachment. Does it unscrew or is it glued? So, again, if you're going to go with a sprinkler type valve setup, I wouldn't do it unless you already have an irrigation system installed. And then I would come off the main line of the irrigation system. By doing so, you don't need the screen. You don't need any kind of backflow prevention because it's already there. Your water source is always clean, it's potable water. So, and also it's important to realize too that the city by code says that after backflow device is installed, from that point and beyond, you cannot attach a hose bib to it. And the reason for that is the city's afraid that somebody will hook a hose to that, turn the water on, and just a Venturi effect, it'll pull moisture from the sprinkler heads. And maybe you'll drink something that you shouldn't be. So. Anyway, the irrigation control valve setup is an easy thing to do. There's a couple of other reasons I like it. This one has a flow control on it. Okay? They don't charge anymore for it. You just have to look and see if it's there. And what the flow control does, it's different than a pressure regulator, but really for our purposes, it's good enough. Flow control is you can just simply turn it down like you're turning a faucet down. Okay, so when you first turn it on, you're still going to have some surge, but then it'll go to a normal pressure again. So, and again, I really like to encourage that. Also, you can add rain sensor, which is kind of cool. If you are using any of these things, you're constantly fiddling with it. I mean, all the time. And if it does happen to rain, you're going to run out in the rain and turn it off. It's just, whatever. So there's different piping options, and it's really interesting as well that because the three sources that I'll call them sell different piping options. If you go to Lowe's, they sell this one. Home Depot sells this one, and Horizon sells this one. All of them work. The compression one, the slip fit one, this one, is probably my least favorite. If you've ever used them, they're a bitch to get on, and boy, are they hard to get off. And you pretty much you can use them only once, and then they're trash. I try to hit some interesting drip locations, and so I'm running pipe through my attic sometimes because every plant I have on my property is on drip, pretty much, except for my turf grass. But so I'm running through the attic. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Would I ever use this in an attic? No, wouldn't even consider it. The this type is really good. This is the one that you actually can get at Lowe's. And it screws right onto the pipe, and it's non-permanent, so you can take it back off and put it back on as many times as you want. It's pretty slick. And then the one that they sell at Horizon is kind of in between a little bit. And I've never had one of these fail. They're pretty difficult to get off, but they can be gotten off. So, I don't know. I use these on the ground outside, but again, never through an attic or anything like that. And having the right tools too is pretty important. I can't tell you how long I struggled with one of these things. I mean, they are just ridiculous. Not only will you know, you can, there it went, you know, and sometimes you'll go all the way through. You can see the dent on the back, punch a hole in the back side, and then there's the old hanging chad inside. I've had those actually stop up an irrigation system. So the option on that is one of these, and they just work so, you know, easily. So having the right tools available is good too. And then the end cap, at some point you're going to have to terminate it, and again, I always use these things. You know, they makers will, they make them with just, and then you can attach another hose to it later if you want. It's non-permanent. The option to that is a figure 8, one of these, which works just as well. Yes.
Where do you get those little things that you make the holes with?
These things,
That thing?
Home Depot.
Home Depot?
Yeah. It's really kind of funny, and you know, and how different the products that they sell are from one store to the next. Okay, all of them will have these little stupid things. Okay, but they're really, these are, I think it was $4. Boy, I wish I would have bought this a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that actually removing the little punch out?
Pass it around. What's that?
Does that actually remove the punch out, or is it just keeping it from falling off? You
Well,
commented
the
that
difference is
block
it takes it completely off. You know, the final thing before putting your irrigation system into service is to flush it, you know, run it through once. And so if your little chad is kind of hanging, it's not going to flush right out.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll fall off, but it doesn't come right off. And with this, you end up with a loose circle in there, and it just blows right out. So, drip line layout. Drip line layout, you know, is actually more complex than what you think. And I've seen so many that are just done just flat out wrong. And people tend to overthink the whole thing when they shouldn't. You know, when you lay your drip lines out, I gave y'all a sheet with definitions on it, so if you'll look at those, you'll know what I'm talking about. Drip line is this larger half-inch poly tube, okay? It's important that it's convenient, well hidden, and that you can find it again, okay? Your zones should be zoned out and separated by water volume, because there's low volume heads like this, higher volume like this, and whether it's in full shade or sun. In general, a plant in shade will use half the water of that in full sun. So, you know, that equates to a longer run time, or shorter run time the other way around. You can compensate for that with the heads, but only to a point, because as you get into the summer months, plants tend to like more frequency over volume. And I say that, and I'm talking about garden plants, because most garden plants, hanging baskets, pot plants, I mean the ones in the pots, all the soil's amended, so the soil is well drained, and so frequency of irrigation matters more than volume, because once you irrigate it, the water's going to tend to run through. When you talk about trees and shrubs planted into our native soil, since it's a high clay content, it's volume over frequency, because it takes a larger volume, and the water tends to stay where you put it and percolate through that clay soil slower. So in a vegetable type situation, when I'm in August, and I do grow my tomatoes in August, which a lot of people don't, they give up, you know, I can hit it with 3 cycles a day, no problem, because doesn't matter. You know, and if you calculate what you're actually using, on my drip irrigation system, I did calculate it. I'm using about 23 gallons on the whole thing. You gotta understand mine is extensive, and to put that into perspective, an average shower, 10-minute shower is 46 gallons. So I'm using about half of what a shower would normally take. And if you were to irrigate the same area, as I do, well, one, it wouldn't even be possible, but if, you know, it would be in the 200 gallon range. So.
Can I ask a question about the next to the last line?
Mm.
200-foot long, half-inch line